Everything you desire is waiting for you to claim it. There's no creating involved, only invention through imagination and building through action. You are at the center of all your desires, dreams, and achievements. Welcome to Designing Your Life Today, the podcast that's all about your success, achieving your goals, building wealth through your business, and building your most passionate, powerful, magnificent life. Discover ways to use your purpose to connect you to serving others and living your dreams. I am Pat Council, and I know you are built by design to win. And it all begins with knowing how to tap into your success energy. Let's get on the path of discovery, decisive action, development, and unwavering dedication to your life's calling. It's time to embark on a transformative journey where your deepest passions become your most rewarding achievements. Embrace your power to shape your destiny, because this is your moment to do life with power. Hello, Power Up Nation. I'm Pat Council, and on Designing Your Life Today, I want to talk about becoming debt-free through your business or through business, period. Listen, if you want true freedom, you have to work for yourself. Now, here's my caveat right out of the gate, that just because you're going to have that freedom, that does not mean that you don't have to work. A lot of times, especially when you first start in business, you're going to put in more hours than you would put in perhaps on a regular 9-to-5 job. But at the same time, with the right system, with the right work ethic, the right focus, you're going to get paid 5, maybe 10 times more than you would get from that 9-to-5 job. And eventually things will level off. It depends on how quickly you learn and how focused you remain. That depends on how quickly things level off. In other words, to the point where you can kind of have 4-day weekends and take time off when you want to take time off. So I just wanted to let you know that you can become debt free through your business. And if you want true freedom, the object of the game is for you to work for yourself. There's absolutely no reason for people to starve in this day and time. And I understand that the economy it changes. And here's the thing. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but in the last, maybe since 2007, okay, when the real estate market crashed and the economy tanked and people were losing their homes, the economy has been up and down. And even before that, so it's always going to go up and down. The object of the game is for you to position yourself to ride those waves. So I want to say this to you if you are listening to this podcast and you work a job. First of all, relying on other people to pay you what you're worth, that may not always happen. Now, if you love what you do and you say, you know what, I am content with the money that I'm making and, my bills are paid, I don't have debt, I have extra money if I want to help someone, then you might be in a good position, okay? But I want you to understand that relying on other people to give you benefits, even the ones that you're entitled to because you've earned them, and even that can be iffy. If you're relying on them, then it can always go away. But here's the thing. No one can stop you from earning what you desire except the person you see in the mirror, and that person would be you. This is something that I learned when the economy tanked. And actually, let me go back a little bit further. And this has been a long time ago, you guys. When I got into real estate after I left the military, I began to learn how powerful it is to do what it is you need to do when you need to do it so that you can be successful in your own business, but also so you can take control of your own financial destiny. So I want to say this, that I did become debt free through my business, through my real estate business. And you know what? As if I didn't learn better, in 2007, when the real estate market crashed and the economy tanked, I had a few challenges, financial challenges as well. I went through a divorce, and there were other things. My dad passed. All of these things kind of happened at the same time. And then there were a few other things that were going on as well. And so, with that being said, I had a lot on my plate, and financially, emotionally, mentally. So I had to really pull myself together and get some things going. And I want to say, this is why I'm talking about this, because I did a workshop. Actually, I did a couple of workshops in January about goal setting and about goal achievement. And I started talking about the fact that you can earn money from your business. You don't have to starve. You can do really well. And it doesn't mean that you don't need help, but you may need some help. But no matter how you slice it, if you do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, then these things are going to work out, assuming you have a product or service that's needed. And I would venture to say that for every person who takes the time to pay attention to what their gifts and talents are, they can actually take those gifts and talents and find a way to monetize those gifts and talents. Case in point, if you're a person who likes to write, do you know there are people who are earning $5,500 or more writing a blog? And I can remember when blogging first started, and it wasn't as popular, and a lot of the so-called experts said that blogging was a fad, that eventually it would be a thing of the past. Well, it's still here today, and there are people who are making literally more than $100,000 plus a year. Some people are making in the millions. So I want you to understand, when I say that you can use your gifts and talents to earn money, to build a business while serving at the same time, this is not something I'm making up. I mean, Proverbs says that your gifts and talents will bring you before great men. Well, you're not going to go before great men and still starve. So unless you just give back everything they offer you, but I'm guessing you won't do that. So that's why I wanted to talk about the fact that you can use your business to get rid of your debt. You can use your business to build the life you want. And if you're going to retire, and this is something that I received a lot of these questions in my email in January and February. And these are some of the things they were saying. Hey, you know what? I have a lot of debt and I would love to start a business. And based on your story where you started, pawning things because you didn't have enough money, can you give me some suggestions? So I thought, you know what? I'm still getting emails here and there with people asking that question. So I thought I'd put it in a podcast and they could just all listen to the podcast, and start mapping their way out. Of course, I have some other things lined up that will help them stay on task or get on task. So coming in May, it's the return of my Masterclass. It's a Masterclass with 3 days of training. And it's about building your own income. So we're going to talk about how to build your own income, and you could start from scratch. So back on topic. A little bit about how I paid my debt off and became debt free through my business. I went through that twice. First, when I first got into real estate, I had some challenges that I was faced with, and I needed money. So I ended up pawning a few things. But I can tell you, one thing I did was I focused, and I made a commitment that I was going to win in real estate. And I could have taken a job at that time because I was being offered a job. But for some reason, and at that time, I wasn't, let's say, I'm not going to say I wasn't spiritually in tune. I could have been and just not known it. But let's say I didn't know as much about the Bible as I do now. And so, but I believe that because of my faith and a plan, things began to work out for me. So if you do your part, God will definitely step in and do the rest. So with that being said, economy, or when I first got into business, had some challenges there, and I had I had credit card debt and everything. And secondly, if you fast forward to 2007, 2008, I was making money in real estate, and then when the market crashed, I found myself in this, not the same situation, but I had a few unpaid debts and things that I needed to take care of. Now, on top of that, it wasn't just about my business. At that time, I was going through a divorce. My dad had just passed away, and I had other things that were going. It seemed like everything, it happened all at once. And so this can be taxing mentally, emotionally, and physically. So I want you guys to know, this is when Designing Your Life Today was born. I can remember sitting there quiet, and there it is again. I'm talking about sitting in the quiet. And I'm going to share a couple of things that I did, and perhaps they will help you, that will allow you to take a little bit of money and turn it into a lot. Now, this is not a miracle thing, you guys. This is about taking the money that you have and doing what it takes to get to where it is you want to be, or at least to get your head above water so you can tread water and you can keep going and going until you're swimming. Okay. I don't know why I use the swimming metaphor. I can't swim, but it's on my list of things to do. Back on track. But I also already mentioned about blogging and how you can make $5,500. There were people making $5,500 a month, and you could make up to six figures. So if you like writing and you have something that you want to say and you can make some kind of impact, you can start with blogging. And of course, there's more to it than just you writing your words. There are some things that you need to add, and this is where affiliate marketing comes into play in your blogs. We don't have the time to get into this deeply, but in my coming masterclass, I'm going to break some things down for you guys so you can actually understand more about not just affiliate marketing, but how do you make these things work? The other reason why I wanted to talk about this today and explain that you can become debt-free through your business is I have Xfinity, and they have like a free week or something, each streaming app or whatever. And so I turned on my television, and up pops this thing about affiliate marketing. Great courses were free, that streaming app. And there was a thing about affiliate marketing, and I thought, oh, this might be interesting. But what it was a 5-minute segment, maybe a little less than 5 minutes segment, that the Today Show, they were showing some clips from the Today Show where they did a segment on affiliate marketing. And the picture that they painted was that, okay, it's not a get rich quick thing. And they're not wrong about that. It's not a get rich quick thing, but they also made it sound like people would, exhaust all of their money and not make any money. But the truth of the matter is, I used affiliate marketing to actually bring in some income, and it worked really well for me. Now, the example that they used was there was a guy who was teaching affiliate marketing, and I don't remember his name because it wasn't important enough for me to write it down. And they were talking about his program and how he was charging $1,000 for his program. And the object of the game was to get other people selling his program. So here's the thing, though. What they failed to mention, they centered the concept of affiliate marketing around that one case. And that's not all there is to affiliate marketing. There are ways, and I've coached some people and shown them how to get into affiliate marketing with no money, first of all, and explain to them that, yeah, you might have to spend initially maybe $10 or $20 here and there. So to boost some things. But other than that, no, you don't need to exhaust $1,000, but you have to go in it with a plan and with the right plan. I used affiliate marketing, and it worked really well for me. So you can use a business, and in this case, these are kind of independent contractor type businesses, if you will. But you can use a small business, and you can start from nothing, and you can build. Of course, the object of the game is to know what you're building, how you're building it, to really have a very solid system. I always like to say, okay, talk to someone who's been there, done that, and they can help you and you can move a lot faster. So in a nutshell, how did I become debt free through my business? Well, here's what I did. And I'm going to kind of go through this and keep it very simple. And we're not going to go into like super specifics, but I will be revisiting this on this podcast probably the next couple of weeks, where I'll talk about different aspects of boosting your income, earning more money, and boosting your business. The first thing I knew is that, let me rephrase that. The first thing I believed is that I had a great gift. You have to believe that every gift that you've been given, every talent that you have to believe that it's great. Does that mean you don't need to refine that talent and practice? No, it doesn't mean that. Okay. But it does mean that you have to begin with the end in mind, as Stephen Covey writes about in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And so I had to believe that the gifts and talents that I had, that they would provide for me. So, I'm a faith person. And I've been reading the Bible, studying the Bible for years, as opposed to just listening to the preacher and believing everything that they say. Not that I don't believe my pastor, but the Bible tells you to study to show thyself approved. So it tells you to read it for yourself. And so the point that I'm making here is, as a result, that builds my faith and makes it very strong. So I realized that if I was going to take things not necessarily to the next level, but to any level, because the market had crashed and I didn't want to exhaust all what little funds I had left on things where I would end up with nothing. So the first thing I knew is that I had to use what I had. So I used what I knew and what was available to me. So what was that? Well, coming from real estate, I had trained lots of agents from different companies and taught them how to become top producers. So as a result of that, I thought, you know what? I'm pretty good at this. So why don't I start by coaching a few real estate agents? Well, I ended up getting people who were not real estate agents, but people whose businesses were not thriving. I'm good at marketing. And so these were people who were they were local. And I physically went to their businesses and spent time with them. And I looked at how they could increase their income. This was something that I was good at. And so as a result, because I was good at this, I decided, you know what? I think I'm going to add that kind of to my money making activities, if you will. So I start with what I knew. The other thing is, while I was in real estate, a lot of people or people who were new in business or thinking about going into a business, somehow people would give them my name and they would come to my office and they would want to talk to me a little bit and ask me, what does it take to be successful in business? So I would tell them, I didn't charge them any money, but I would also say, you know what, if you have any questions, feel free to call me when I'm not out showing property or I'm not running my office and helping my agents. I'm happy to share information with you. So what happened was I discovered that I was pretty good at coaching. So I found people to coach, but more importantly, they found me. So I went on social media and I actually scheduled my first webinar. And that webinar, I didn't charge anything at that webinar. Of course, it was free. And I didn't even have a product to sell, but the webinar was good. And it was actually all about your divine right to wealth. And I was explaining to people how they didn't have to starve. And so as a result of that, there were people who wanted to connect with me. And I had one person who said, hey, would you coach me? And so I ended up coaching her. And then I ended up coaching another person. Then I met a lady. She was actually a guest on my podcast. She's a best-selling author. I saw her book in the bookstore, and I had actually reached out to her to ask her a few questions. Well, we started talking, and the more she learned about me, she says, will you coach me and help me with my marketing? So I ended up helping her, and of course she paid me. So the point that I'm making is that I was willing to put my talent out there. The thing at which I was good, I was willing to put it out there. I didn't decide that, you know what, I think I'm going to sit around and worry about not having enough. I'm going to sit around and hope that my bills get paid. I'm not going to watch the news and let them make me anxious and make a prediction. See, understand this. It doesn't mean that what they're saying is wrong. What it means is that it may not apply to every single person. Every time the economy goes down or there's a problem with the economy, millionaires and billionaires, now we're in the age of billionaires, rise up. People end up making a lot of money. So you have to decide that you're not one of the people who are going to starve, one of the people who deserve to not have enough. And I know that might sound a little motivationally, that's not a word, is it? But I'm going to make it a word, but it's true. Okay, you have to decide the direction that you're going to go in your life. So I made a decision to use my talent. And like I said, I knew I was good at coaching because of what I had done for people when I was in real estate. And so I found people to coach, or as I said, they found me. The other thing is I use my experience and the things that I had learned about being broke so I could help other people who were working on recovering, which, by the way, Designing Your Life Today came about between just before 2008, because I thought, wow, you know what? I know what I went through with real estate and the real estate market crashing, but this is not my first time not having enough money. As a matter of fact, when I first started in real estate, I was broke. So it was below not having enough. And I knew that I could share from real experience, not something I read in a book, not something just to motivate people, but I could provide inspiration through fact and things that I had done. So when I talk to you about the fact that you can become debt free through your business, this is something that I did. Okay. And even if your credit is not the best, understand this: money comes from people. And you guys may have heard this before. If you want $1 million, you get 1 million people to give you $1. And so you're instant millionaire at that point, which there's no such thing as instant. You've got to do some work. So the point that I'm making is I use my experience and what I had learned from starting out broke. I knew there would be people who had lost financially, either because of a divorce or they were downsized from a job. During that time, a lot of businesses were closing, and we still have that going on today. And not only do we have a lot of businesses that are closing today, what we also have is people who are settling for far less than they believe they deserve, far less than what their skill level calls for, because we have artificial intelligence now, and it's kind of it is taking some people's jobs. And I know the positive spin is, well, artificial intelligence will not take your job. It will only take the jobs of the people who don't know how to use artificial intelligence. That's not altogether true. There are some jobs where artificial intelligence, where it would normally require maybe 3 or 4 people, now it only requires 1. So the object of the game for you is to really tap into what is your real gift and talent. You see, it will make room for you. One thing that I believe, whether you guys believe it or not, God says he's the Alpha and the Omega. He also says that everything else will fade away, but that his word will stand. So what does that mean? That means that you can rely on his word. That means that he made you. If you're fearfully and wonderfully made and he gave you a calling, you need to tap into that and figure out what that is and use that to make money. That does not mean you don't need to learn artificial intelligence. Doesn't mean you don't need to stay relevant. It doesn't mean that, but it means you need to learn how to take that talent and let's say combine it with something else, something that people might need, and monetize it. So let's talk a little bit more about what I did, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about what you can do really quickly, and then we are going to say goodbye. So the other thing that I realized is that, wait a minute, all right, so when I'm coaching and I coach a lot of people, there will be also some people who can't afford my coaching. And so what did I do? Because this isn't just about the money. This is about the passion of it all and the love of what I'm doing and the strong desire to help people, because I don't believe anybody that anybody has to starve. Anybody has to struggle to the point where they don't know where their next meal is coming from. I don't believe that. And because God says he would provide for us. Okay. So you just have to connect with him. But what I'm saying to you is that because I wanted to also create something that was cost effective for people who didn't have a lot, that's where my courses came in. So I had the online courses. Now I did a podcast I think last week about earning money at home, teaching what you know. And so online courses, you guys, this is very powerful. And so I'm going to put that same link in the show notes so you guys can check it out and you can decide, you know what, I think I might want to try online courses, because I didn't have a lot of money. So I had to really, let's say, conserve my money. And so one of the things that I did is I started an online course, and I had 30 days free. So it took me, I spent maybe about 3 days learning how to do everything and set it up. And it was super easy. So I set things up. And then the next thing I did is I spent the next, I want to say 27 days, but I always take a day off. Okay, a day of rest. So minus 4 days. So it's 23 days. That the next 23 days marketing, putting those courses out there. And there's a method that you can use if you say, well, I don't have time to build an entire course. There are things that you can do so that you can bring in capital while you are selling your course. And when I launched my Build Your Own Income, when we do the return of that, because I did it last year and it was very successful, and the year before that, when we talk about building your own income, I'll share a lot of kind of my secrets or tips, if you will. They're not really, well, they are kind of secrets, I guess. So, because when I talk to people, they go, wow, I didn't know that. But the point that I'm making is online courses. So that allowed me to duplicate myself. So I had people who were purchasing my courses, but while I was doing live coaching with other people. And then there were some other things that I came up with as well. Of course, I had the time to write a book at this point. And my workbook, High Impact Power Goal Setting, that was the workbook that I put out there. It's still selling today. Now, I revise it periodically, but hey, it has good ratings, reviews, and people like it. So the point that I'm making is everything that I've created, it is designed to help people get what they want, to help people realize how powerful they really are, to help people realize that they are built by design to win. And I believe that's one of the things that I'm called to do, is to help people to see the best in themselves and not the worst in themselves, and not to put themselves down, and not to think that they're inferior, not to think that they have to settle for less, because that's not how we're built. And so that's something I'm passionate about. And it's something I was doing even when I was in real estate for people that would come to my office. So I was actually doing it free. And so now I'm being paid for it. And so the same thing applies to you. What is the talent or the gift that you have? Or plural, what are the talents or gifts that you have? Don't be shy about it. You don't have to go and share it with the world. Share it with you first. Write it down. And if you don't know what they are, then spend some quiet time and have a conversation with God and be open, listen, and write it down, because it will work. So start there. That's one of the things that you can do. And the other thing is, you want to recognize that the key to increasing your income is to know how to combine your passion with what's needed. You see, in this day and time, with so many people thinking that life is a struggle and looking for a direction and looking for connection and collaboration and all of these things and some kind of guidance, as well as solutions that can take them to where they want to be, as long as they're willing to do the work, then I realized that, wait a minute, I can actually combine what I'm passionate about with what's needed. So you want to ask yourself the same question. What is it you can do that will take people, help people to get what they need? Not just need, but they desire, what would excite them, what they're happy about. You know what? And I want to give you another thing. And I know I did a podcast a couple of weeks ago about 3 ways you can earn money from home. But here's another thing. You can earn money actually running errands for seniors. Okay, because a lot of them don't have family. A lot of them are too old to do it themselves. A lot of them, because things change so rapidly, don't know how to do it. And they need your help. So you can earn money doing that. I could go on, but in the interest of time, I'm only going to share those, but I will share some others. Take a look and ask yourself, what can you do, and figure out how to monetize it. The object of the game is, once you combine your passion with what's needed, you want to offer it to as many people who need what you have. Offer it to the people who need it, and offer it to a huge market. This is the beautiful part about the internet. Right now, Designing Your Life Today, the podcast, something I never even considered. It has a ranking in over 55 countries across the world. I never, ever thought that that would happen. That wasn't even my goal. So the point that I'm making is, I put it out there and people, and the people came. You know that movie, Build It and They Will Come? You know, someone said that doesn't work. Well, it does work if you do it right. So anyway, bring it to as many people who need what you're offering. The other thing is, once you start bringing in some money, don't take it all and just put it on bills. And we're going to wrap up on this, and I'm going to tell you something that, you might not like. But if you have a bill that's due and it's $100, and all you have is $100, you know what? Don't put that full $100 on that bill, because you're going to be right back where you started. Take at least $10 and invest in growing that business that you started. And then call the person that you owe and say, hey, I'll give you $50 now, and I'll give you the rest next month, or whatever you work out with them. But you want to be sure that you can grow your business. So you level up by connecting with other people, because that's the other thing. You want to connect with people who love what you have to offer, and they're not offering the same thing. And you guys can actually connect, and you can collaborate, and you can both walk away with more money, while at the same time serving 2 to 3 times as many more people. So level up through connecting and collaborating with the right people, and learn how to use a percentage of your earnings toward effective marketing. As I said, if you make 100, don't just use that $100 because you're in a panic. Oh, I've got to give this $100 to them right away. Okay. No, you can give 50 now and make a deal for later. And as I said, invest that money and grow that money. Now, I know I've gone through this pretty quickly and I've said a lot. So as I said, there's going to be some follow up, you guys, but I will put some links in the show notes that I believe will help you. For those of you that have the gift of gab and you believe that you have something, a skill that you can teach, or something that will excite other people, but not just excite them, but help them get on the right track, then you may want to think about doing an online course. And I explained how I did it. 23 days. And when the payday came, or time came for me to pay that bill, I had made more than enough money to pay it the second month, to pay it and keep it going. And I started with a smaller level. Okay. But as it grew, I actually went to a higher level because I wanted to be able to give certifications and certificates of congratulations and that kind of thing. And that cost more money. So I hope that this helped you. You can use a business to become debt free. Now, as I said, you're not going to learn all of this in just one little short podcast, but I've given you some things that you can actually do and start to put in place. And here's the other thing. I mentioned the online courses, but I want to say this one thing, and I'll put the link to the program that I use, but I want to say this. There are different programs that you can use, but the one that I use, I love it because I can actually connect with the real person. And I like being able to ask questions and get real-time answers and these kinds of things. As well as connect with their group. So I like doing things like that because it empowers me and it will empower you. So if you believe that you can bring something to the table, and by the way, you know what? It doesn't have to be that you have the gift of gab. If you're a person who likes to crochet, you can actually do some videos and pop it into a course and teach people how to knit or how to crochet. So put your thinking cap on. Instead of thinking about what you don't have, instead of thinking about not having enough, you want to tap into that amazing power that God has given you. And you want to think on the other side, call those things that be not as though they were. And with that comes your vision. The Bible tells you to cast down imaginations that exalts itself against God. So anything that's convincing you that you're not enough or that you can't do enough or won't have enough, cast that down and replace it with the idea that you are more than a conqueror, that you are more than enough. So listen, you guys, that's all I have because I could go on and on about this. But as I said, there will be some follow up, and coming in May, I will be launching or relaunching again, Build Your Own Income, that 3-day masterclass, and we can all talk live and we can learn some things and grow together. And before you know it, you guys are going to be doing life with power, and you're going to be more than convinced that you are in fact built by design to win. So here's the thing. Make sure you're on my email list. Just look in the show notes, or you can go to designingyourlifetoday.com. And when that little box pops up, go ahead and subscribe so that you do not miss that announcement, the date that the class starts in May. You want to get in there because it's going to be a limited number. And anybody who's ever been to any of my master classes, they will tell you, yep, when Pat tells you she's limiting the number, she limits the number because I need to be able to effectively answer your questions and give you the time that you need. And so if I have thousands and thousands of people, then in that case, somebody's going to fall through the cracks. So normally what I will do is I will schedule several dates in May and have more than one Build Your Own Income 3-day masterclass in order to get you guys in. So get on my email list. And in the meantime, I'm going to say it again. Do life with power, knowing that you're built by design to win.